Well, good morning, Facebook and all the world. Happy Sunday to you all. I hope life is good. Man, I decided I'd go ahead and do Sunday. I was thinking of maybe taking Sundays and Mondays off, but no, let's kind of do this like we normally would on a Sunday morning. I sure appreciate you being here. This is David Arday. I call these Heard Over Coffee. We do them Monday through Sunday, at least for a week or two more, maybe 3 or 4 weeks. Not quite sure how that's gonna go. Gotta thank my friend Tony Moody. He is the horse whisperer. They call him Wyoming Tony. Tony Wyoming for a reason. In fact, he had a stallion, a Wyoming horse on the back of his pickup truck, and it's very fitting. I was so lucky because he took me to one of the spots where the wild horses roam in Idaho. I cannot tell you how glorious it was to be able to sit there and commune with these horses. They're not nearly as skittish as most of the horses I've been around. I've been chasing wild horses for years. I got a chance to go out with the BLM a couple of times a few years ago, and I learned a lot about those amazing animals, and it was so fantastic. I'm going to show a picture of a little foal that I took. Bold little bugger. He or she would literally walk right up to us with his family behind him, and it was one of the most amazing things that's ever happened to me when it comes to nature. And I've been out and about from socially distancing from a grizzly bear to watching mooses stare down a car. This was absolutely fantastic, and I certainly want to thank my good friend Tony Moody for taking me out there. It's one of those resources that you kind of want to share, but you're not necessarily should. So let's talk about taking a day off and why that's good. It's a very interesting situation. A lot of us work in our home. So how do you take a day off when you work at home? And even if you don't work at home, when we get home, we need to be confined still for a few days or a week or a month, depending on where you live. So how do you take a day off when you do that? Well, you just mix it up. I'm going to take tomorrow off, taking Mondays. In fact, I may actually get to go out and find a bald eagle, another one of my long-term goals. With less movement and less people about, the animals, the creatures have kind of come out a little more than normal. So I'm going to take that opportunity. My friend Professor Corey Barish lives in Eagle, and he seems to think that we can find an actual eagle in Eagle, and I'm going to do that. But how do you do it? You shake it up. You move things around. The poster the comic I posted in this morning's comment section talks about how all you need to do is switch chairs and the couch. Well, you can do that. You can rearrange your furniture. You can move things around. Stress really takes its toll in this world where we're constantly our phones are on 24/7. We have constant access to work. I can remember when I used to have to carry a pager, how great it was that I could turn the thing off. Well, we don't ever turn our phones off, so we really kind of work 24/7 now, and it's crazy. We got to break that up. It beeps when anybody ever wants us to look at something. Every Facebook notification, every message. It's crazy. So what I'm suggesting is maybe you mix it up a little. Even if you are working at home, take a break. Turn the damn phone off, maybe. Step away from it. Just get yourself into a position where you can do something than your set routine. We've talked about how good it is to have a routine, but it's also good to maybe throw a wrench in the machine now and then. The science is really clear. The constant stress and stimulation of the brain leads to the opposite effect of what we want. Instead of, if you work 60 or 70 hours a week, or now 24/7, your brain slowly clogs up. It's a lot like a computer that just gets stuffed with information, and eventually that little spinning wheel shows up, and you get farther and farther and less efficient. So you just need to break it up. Change it up, even if you live at home. So maybe that's actually, instead of getting up and keep it in your jammies, you get dressed up. You get all spiffed up and you Do that morning commute, clear to the coffee, and maybe you take a sideline and go through the living room today instead of straight into the kitchen. Find yourself a way to get a different perspective. Not that hard to do. This is all new. All this crazy virusy COVID-19 hunker in our bunkers, self at home, self quarantine. There's a million different words for it. And we've kind of settled now in to a new routine. So maybe we need to break it up. So apparently my friend, let's roll this over here. Tim wandered out and got some camping. In Idaho, we are encouraged actually to go out and do some effective social distancing. I can tell you, I was out south of Murphy, and there were campers everywhere. Unfortunately, I did not see the people sitting around the campfire being separated. I got to be honest with you, this opening up of the state and completely opening up the beaches and that sort of thing scares the daylights out of me. I hope that we're not going to be in a situation where we have a second bump. So now that this new routine is getting old, you're looking at the same walls, you're cooking your own food. I've kind of run out of things to do. New things to cook. My wife and I have a fairly narrow palate. We cook a lot of chicken. She made an amazing turkey meatloaf last night that was fantastic because I was out. Maybe it's time, we've talked a lot about, maybe it's time to do some research, find something new, come up with a new skill, a new talent. We've all talked about doing it. I don't know how many of us have done it. Maybe it's something as simple as you take some time off and do something you would not normally do. Maybe it's write a letter to a friend or sing in a shower. How about reading an actual book? Not an audio book, not something on your Kindle, an actual book. Something that you can just stop your regular routine, all this constant staring at the same four walls, going to the same coffee pot instead of a different coffee shop. Just break it up a little, change it up. Go out in nature, even if it's only in your backyard. A lot of us are lucky enough to live in a place that where we have a yard. But even if it's sitting on your balcony or hanging out, hanging out in get in your car, turn the stereo on, do something to break it up. And don't half-ass it. Really try to change it up. Really do something different. Really completely change what you're doing. Break that routine. Turn that phone off. I am ranting a little here, aren't I? Good morning to my friends over there in this comment line. I sure appreciate you all being here. I'm going to break it up tomorrow. I'm not going to do a show. So let's see what else I have. Do something really different. Absolutely, truly change your routine. Maybe it's sleeping in. Maybe it's getting up early. Maybe it's staying late. But do something to take a break, to take a day off, even though normally when we take a day off, we don't go to work or we don't do our regular routine. What I'm saying is tomorrow or sometime this week, really switch it up. Sleep in till noon. My friend Denise, who's off and on here, posted, how much vodka do you put in a scrambled egg? Maybe that's not a bad idea. Go ahead and turn yourself, dive into maybe a little bit of a substance that you don't normally do, but take a break. Things are still going to be crazy for a long time, folks. Unfortunately, things are going to be odd, and we're going to have to really, really be concerned with our self-care. And one of the best things you can do with self-care is to seriously dive deep into changing your routine. All right. Well, you think about that. You think you're going to be able to change your routine, move things around, do something different? My friend Carla talks about how beautiful the weather is, and boy, isn't that true. Yes, I don't know, not all of us live in Idaho, but those of us who do, I was out walking the dog today. It's a little brisk. It's still not, a sunny summer day, but it's sure a beautiful spring day, so it's a great opportunity to get out and take a walk. And in Idaho, if you pay attention to your social distancing, you can certainly walk. Some of the parks are open. Most of the city parks aren't, but most of the state parks are. So check first, find out. Like I said, there's a couple of folks wandering around. Okay, So let's see, make sure I can find it here. So I promised you all that I would post a picture from yesterday's search for the wild horses. It's actually a little bit hard to. It's a little bit hard to actually not be a bit emotional about this. These animals are just so majestic. There's a reason why the Americans believe so strongly of protecting and helping these wild horses. I could go in a lot about that. They are very prolific, or they propagate very fast. So 2 becomes 4, becomes 6, becomes 8 in a hurry. We do have to find a way to control them, and the BLM is very good about that. But these horses are so beautiful. So without further ado, let me show you this one. And I'll talk a little bit about this cute little bugger. So this little foal, let's see here. There we go. This little foal was absolutely so curious. He actually went up and touched his nose to my friend Tony when we were out there. He looked us straight in the camera, as you can see. He is just the most adorable little thing. I wish it showed up a little better on this screen, and I'll post this photograph on my Facebook shortly. But I want to talk about it. You go down this really gnarly, bumpy, BLM calls it 2 tracks. And they're just all just, almost impossible to travel down. You get back, and as we're driving along, Tony says, there they are. And I said, no, those are cows, because there were so many of them. This herd probably has 50 or 60. And they were all along this beautiful ridge, overlooking the Treasure Valley. They're not all that far, and man, are they stunning. So here they are, all spread out. I got really nervous because in the past I've often got this close to horses and they've just skittered away as soon as a car showed up. And there was an ATV coming the other way on this little the BLM 2-track, this little dirt road. We've all been on them in Idaho. You know what they look like. They often just go out to a cattle corral, or maybe a watering station or an old farmstead. So interesting side fact: Forest Service roads almost go from one road to the next. BLM roads almost always dead end. Interesting thing I've learned over the years: you got to be really careful if you're going to be on a BLM road. You may very well find yourself stuck at the end of a road someplace at the edge of a canyon. So we wander out there, and these band of horses, there's ATV coming, and I asked Tony, I said, do you mind if I step out and try to shoot? Because I want to at least get one live view of them from, I'm probably 200 yards away. I step out and I take that picture, and it's great. Of course, they're little tiny, so they wouldn't make great a photograph, but I actually got to see these wild horses from a distance. And then as we drove up, ATV comes by, and they split. They scatter a little. They go to maybe 15, 20 yards off of this little road, but they don't run. They don't go away, and I was just shocked. Tony and I pull up, and, of course, when you're doing this, you have to be extremely respectful of the animal. So we get out, trying to not cover my face. We get out of our truck, of Tony's truck, and we step up. And they're very curious animals, very intelligent, obviously, because they're horses. Long debate over whether a horse is more intelligent than a dog, but it doesn't really matter. They're both really gloriously beautiful animals. And we step out, and let's see, he's not in here, but there's a couple of big full-on alpha male stallions, and they step up, come up in front of the between they're mostly mares and the rest of the herd, and they stare at you. They give you a look straight in the eye, like, don't mess with us, which is really wonderful. Of course, we're not gonna mess with them. If you're respectful and quiet and calm, I learned from my friend William, who's a Native American, how to calm myself. You bring yourself into yourself, so you don't project anything out to the animals, and they understand that and they trust that. My friend Corey Barish and I got to be very close to a wild elk in the Teton National Forest, because we were able to if you're not threatening, they understand that. These animals are very, very sensitive to your personal. So, and over a course of a couple hours, they circled us and they moved in. And this little foal, this little, I think it's a guy, although it may very well be a mare, I'm not sure, was keeping an eye on us. And we both sit down. You'll see that I'm at a low angle, so I'm hunkered down with my camera pointing up. And this horse walked right up to me. There shortly after this photograph, I could have reached out and touched that horse. Of course, I didn't, because if you'll look behind him, there's some pretty serious looks in the rest of the family. They're watching me very, very closely. You can see their ears are up. They're paying attention. They're ready to. I'm sure that if I made any sort of threatening move towards that little foal, that I would have gotten my face kicked in by one of these beautiful wild stallions. Would have been a great story, but I don't think it would have been one that I would want to tell. So, there you go. A little Sunday bonus. Take a break, get out, do something different, rearrange your couch. Maybe all it is putting on a suit and tie and changing, taking a shower or something like that. But change up your routine. I want to thank you all. I'm going to take tomorrow off. Hopefully, I will have some new photographs of an eagle to show you. And I will put this up on Facebook so you can get a little better look at it. I am David Arte. It's Heard Over Coffee. Monday through most Sundays, I do this every morning. Philly. I think it is a filly. I cannot tell for sure. My friend Wendy just posted it's a filly. I like that. It's a great word. All right, my friends. I want to thank you so very much for being here. I'll be back on Monday. David Arte, Heard Over Coffee. Push all the buttons, and I'm out.